And I'd like to welcome you to the state of Rhinebeck. Before we start, I'm going to ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The State of Rhinebeck is an annual event presented by the Chamber of Commerce. It's always good to hear from local officials about plans for the year ahead and how they relate to the business community and the community at large. And of course, some words about the year that was. Our speakers this evening include Village of Rhinebeck Mayor Gary Bassett, Rhinebeck Town Supervisor Elizabeth Cinzia, and Rhinebeck Central School District Superintendent Albert Cousins. Before we begin our program, I'd like to take a moment to thank our State of Rhinebeck sponsors, Dave's Tree Service, Marvin Kemp and Cole, PLLC, Rain Spa, Archtop Fiber, and a special thank you to Rhinebeck Bank, our corporate sponsor. The support of our sponsors is what helps us provide the programming to the Chamber, so the support is so much appreciated. I'd like to take an opportunity to acknowledge some special guests in our audience tonight. And just if you could stand when I call your name. Andy Amparati, President of the Dutchess County Agricultural Society. Sorry, Andy. Elaine Roncat, President and CEO of Dutchess Tourism. Brad Kendall, Dutchess County Clerk. And Karen Stritt, Administrator and CEO of the Community of Brookmead. I'd also like to acknowledge members of the Chamber Board of Directors who joined us this evening. And please stand when I call your name. Our President, Luciano Valdivia. Our first Vice President, Chris Montalto. Our Secretary, Sharon Whiteley. David Tallier. Brian Ziden. Dawn Hopper. And Gail Garcia. Thank you all. I have one housekeeping item before we get started. With questions tonight, we're going to hold them to the end for the Q&A so our speakers can go through their presentations and everything they have to say to us. So I'll just ask you to hold them to that time. I'm honored to introduce our first speaker this evening, Village of Rhinebeck Mayor Gary Bassett. Gary. There he is. Gary is in his fourth term as the mayor of the Village of Rhinebeck and the chair of the Hudson River Water Inter-Municipal Council, also known as Hudson 7. Gary is committed to working cooperatively to find practical, fiscally sound solutions to the issues facing the village. During his tenure as mayor, protecting the environment, including the Hudson River as a source of drinking water and improving infrastructure, have been among his top priorities. Gary was a sales engineer and service manager at Sun Common Solar in Hudson Valley from 2009 to 2022. Before his work in clean energy, Gary spent 35 years as senior manager at IBM, leading engineering departments and the development of supercomputers. Gary has an associate's degree in electronics from Williamsport Community College in Pennsylvania, a bachelor's in technology and electrical engineering from SUNY Binghamton, a master's certificate in project management from George Washington University, and a certification from NABCEP as a PV installation professional. Gary is also a New York State certified firefighter and previously certified EMT. Gary is also a member of the Dutchess County Climate Community Task Force and the Dutchess County Community Development Advisory Committee. He's deeply committed to the wonderful community of Rhinebeck, where he's lived for 30 years with his lovely wife, Brenda. They have two amazing grown children. Come on up, Gary.
Good evening, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here in front of all of you to kind of give you an update of where we're at. So it's just great to see everybody coming out on this cold January night. Hopefully we have warm weather coming. I'd like to get right into it because it's a really great position to be in where we are right now at the Village of Rhinebeck. Because all of our accomplishments this past year, and it's really been a lot, would not have been possible without you. We've done a lot together. We've worked hard together on doing a lot of things. So first off, let me thank you for your participation in helping us really advance the state of the Village of Rhinebeck. But I also want to give a huge thank out to some of my guests here tonight. First, I start out with Trustee Lydia Slavey, Trustee Eleanor Topko, our Fire Chief Brian Knapp, EMS Captain Jeff Potter. So last spring, every year, in the spring of every year, we do our fiscal plan, and we lay out what our objectives are for 24-25. So I want to kind of give you a look back at where we are and what we've been doing, and then kind of a look ahead with that. So we face many challenges, from rising costs, outdated infrastructure, to climate change. And we've learned into increasing our efficiency with the village government, doing more with less when possible, and we have continued to aggressively pursue grants. Just this past year, our efforts have paid off. Currently, right now, today, we have over $9.6 million in process for development for the Village of Rhinebeck, and that's just a snapshot of what it's been for the last so many years. But that's a stunning figure for a village of our size to achieve that, and I'm proud of that accomplishment. But the grant process is also so challenging. It often takes getting turned down, as we have many times, right, Lydia? And it can also take hard to get the approvals once you have it, but then once you get the approval, and it's no rumor, there's a lot of red tape that comes with it when you do get it. But it's so worth it in the end. But all of this involves long-term planning, studying, financing, and a vision of how best to steer Rhinebeck into the future while protecting what makes us a great community. That's why the newly approved Village Comprehensive Plan is really such a big deal. This 3-year effort completely overhauled the previous plan from 1993, created a roadmap for land use planning for the next 10 to 20 years, and now the Village Board, in partnership with Four Corners Planning, will be working on implementing those recommendations. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Trustee Slavey. Please stand up. Lydia is really the architect of putting this plan together in the 3-year effort, so thank you, Lydia. But that's just one. We've also were very successful on getting a grant for $1.6 million for our Safe Route to School. This Safe Route to School is designed to keep our children safe by creating a more walkable and bikeable route between the public school campuses and connection to the downtown. In addition to the safety for our children, it provides numerous benefits with healthy activity, reduced emission for cars, and a more neighborly community. And I hope our Superintendent Albert appreciates all the work that we're trying to do working together, and our collaboration with the school is beyond belief how we can work together and do great things together. And that's what happened in the Village of Rhinebeck. Trustee Lewitt, who is not here tonight, and Trustee Bertozzi, they worked with our engineering firm GPI to successfully apply for the federal transportation grant, right? And for the ADA compliant sidewalks and crosswalks along Knollwood and South Parsonage. Now, Trustee Lewitt, as the complete street liaison, is acting as the main point person for this grant, which means overseeing the design and work, which will begin soon. So just to clarify, we're going to be putting in 1 mile of sidewalk going down South Parsonage Street to the school and up Knollwood and connect all of our schools together to the downtown. $1.6 million. We also have worked very hard on preparing for climate change, and we spent a lot this year on our village drainage system to be able to foresee for the future what the upgrades could be and what the deficits we have, and doing that drainage system study. In the past, we've looked at tearing down streets But now we can look at rebuilding the streets, prepare for the drainage, prepare for the storms before we rebuild our streets. And this is part of our approach, to be proactive in the face of our challenging climate and upgrading our infrastructure so we can better deal with much bigger storms. Water and infrastructure upgrades. This is a really, really big deal. We save the planet in many ways. We are now recipients of a $3.2 million grant for our water plant and a $5 million loan for our wastewater plant. Right? Combined, that was a lot of money to get us started, and the project for the water treatment plant is going to be a total of over $6 million. For our wastewater plant, it's going to be over $3 million, but that's going to set us up for the next 40 to 50 years to provide clean water and a running, functioning, very effective wastewater treatment system for all of us going forward. We also looked, I mentioned efficiency. We're working on digitizing our zoning and our planning records. And soon it'll be a lot easier for all of us, right, to get information records from planning and zoning. There's a lot of information in that department that needs to get organized and digitized. And this will allow us to provide immediate access to any of the needed documents, plus it will greatly reduce the need for storage space. We're not going to stop there. We're going to start working on digitizing all of Village Hall to move out, to get out of doing paper. And that's our goal. I also like to speak, many of you have heard about our Village Compost project. We just launched this successfully last Sunday. We now have a retainer system in the municipal parking lot for village residents to be able to sign up, and for free if you're a village resident, to take your recyclables to that container and turn it into compost. And at the end of the year, every year, you'll get some of that compost out of it. So that also is making a big improvement, but that was in part from a grant received from New York State DEC for $200,000, which allowed us to work with a local farm to set up who's doing compost, to then turn that into real compost. This program can also, in some ways, this is just a drop in a bucket, because every action we take brings us closer to our goals in reducing emissions. So we have a lot of work ahead of us for the coming year. As a number of these projects move into the building phase, we are continuing to work on some projects and breaking ground on a number of them. To start, our comprehensive plan, which we launched, with the news of a grant from New York State Department of State Environmental Protection Fund Smart Growth Community Planning and Zoning Grants Award. We now have $148,000 in addition to what we have funded to move forward on the next phase of that comprehensive plan, which is the zoning phase. So we will be getting actively involved with that within the next few months. We also have to complete the design phase for the Safe Route to School. We've been awarded the grant. We have an engineering firm, but now that that's kicked off, our engineers are going to start doing the physical design, the layout of the roads, the layout of the sidewalk, so that we can begin construction this year with the project end in 2026. We're also going to start construction on the water and wastewater plants that I talked about. No small feat, because those have to be done without shutting them off. So think about it. We're going to tear apart the water plant, rebuild it from the inside, while still continuing to pump 500,000 gallons a day to feed the village. No small feat to do that simultaneously. And the same is true for our wastewater. We'll be replacing critical infrastructure within our wastewater plant that is aged. Our water treatment plant, just for instance, built in 1968. It had a little bit of an uplift in the year 2000, but think about what we've done and how we're moving forward to be able to provide clean water to everybody here in the village and in the town. And our wastewater treatment plant, built in 1984, 40 years old. Things wear out. The effort that the $3.5 million we're putting into our wastewater treatment plant will be able to set that plant up for, again, knock on wood, hopefully another 40 years that we can continue to serve the village of Rhinebeck and continue to grow. I mentioned the drainage system. We've done the analysis. Our engineering firm is done. We've identified the high priority areas that we need to focus on, especially with the Safe Route to School. There's overlap. There's some issues with Knollwood, there's some issues with Parsonage Street, there's some issues with other areas. We need to complete those before we can do the sidewalks going in for our safe route to school. It's a matter of a lot of timing and critical infrastructure work to be done simultaneously. So we must prove that not only need, but that we have made a good investment in these projects. I talked about improving efficiencies in our municipality, in our zoning, payroll, and timekeeping departments. We're moving into the 21st century in terms of our timekeeping. We're getting out of paper for timekeeping. We're going to go to a completely digital format, so all of our employees can sign on, whether on their app, on the phone, or on their computer, and be able to streamline that process, reduce time it takes to process paychecks and keep time recording going. And we're going to continue. As I mentioned last year, I really begged all of you to volunteer to become a police person, right? I don't know if any of those are here. I'm still asking you, please, if you have any desire to join our police department, we can use you, right? We have critical needs in the town of Rhinebeck to support Elizabeth. The lack of staffing for us not only hinders the village, but it hinders our work with the town of Rhinebeck and with our schools to provide SRO officers. So we're continuing to focus on building a better department, a bigger department to serve all of those needs. As we talk about the state of the village, right? It's imperative for us to remember and honor our first responders who are working day and night to keep us safe. Their job is physically and emotionally hard. Building and keeping these members requires motivation, training to become a family. And that is working to work as a cohesive group on responding to a call. As a member of the fire department and a past member of being a fire department, I know the physical and emotional needs that these guys go through every day. And one of the fire department members, Nick Lozelle, compiled a video that I'd like to show you this evening about some lighthearted, it's really a lighthearted video about the year of working with them. But before I do that, I'd like to have Chief Brian Nass and Jeff Cotter please stand up and be recognized. And Jeff, if you can help me start the video, that would be appreciative. These guys, it's really about creating a family. It's an all-volunteer fire department that we have. Over 90 members belong to the fire department, with over 50 of them being active all the time, responding to 1,200 calls a year, whether it be fire or EMS. This is a very big job. And so I'd like to take this time to thank them for their effort.
Thank you, Gary, and God bless our fire department. Thank you, guys. I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker this evening, Rhinebeck Town Supervisor Elizabeth Cinzia. Elected as the first woman supervisor to the town of Rhinebeck in 2014, Elizabeth believes that good local governance and is rooted in collaboration, sound financial management, creative problem solving, dedication, and commitment to community undertaken with a sense of gratitude. Before moving to Rhinebeck in 2005 with her husband James Stevenson and son Leo from Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood, Elizabeth enjoyed a 25-year career as a New York City-based international executive producer and line producer in the TV, commercial, and music video film industry. She co-owned her own production company, Dane Work, for a time, and was on staff at larger production companies like Radical Media, NJZ Productions, and HSI Productions. During her career, Elizabeth worked with dozens of directors and produced hundreds of clips and spots, from Super Bowl commercials, Revlon campaigns, to Heineken beer spots, managing multi-million-dollar budgets and dozens of crew members to deliver award-winning work born of the seamless collaboration at the intersection of art and commerce. Born in New York City and raised on the east end of Long Island's South Fork, Elizabeth is a native New Yorker, lifelong Democrat, activist, and a Bard College graduate with a BA in literature. Elizabeth is a gardener and collector of heritage perennials, a locavore, former professional chef. I never knew that. Historic home restorer, ocean swimmer, beach lover, and finds wonder in the natural world. Elizabeth and her family share their home with 4 ridiculous and beautiful cats. Come on up, Elizabeth.
Thanks, everybody. Good evening. After seeing everything that Gary has to deal with, fire departments, and thanks, guys. We're very grateful for you. Water districts, sewer districts, a village business district. I wonder why sometimes I think my job is difficult at all. But I'm grateful to have Gary in the village. We're friends. We're comrades, and we're partners. We work together to bring you all the services that we do. So this is the state of Rhinebeck, and if you ask me how Rhinebeck's doing, I'm going to tell you it's doing pretty good. We're in pretty good shape. It's changing, we're growing, and the challenge for us is to sort of manage and bend with the change. There's been a big paradigm shift here from COVID, with a lot of new folks moving up, and things change all the time, but expectations of what people want also changes. So it's our job to sort of listen and respond to that. I'm going to talk briefly about our financial status, where we are. We're rich, I think. We've got like $3 million in the bank and about $250,000 of loans out, which we can pay out early, although the interest rate is so low, we might not. I delivered a budget for 2025 that was about $7 million. $6 million was town cost. The rest were collecting for our libraries and fire departments and special districts. But out of the $6 million, about $3 million is funded from taxes. And with a town tax rate of 90 cents for your mill rate and a village tax rate for town taxes of 70, happy to say you have the lowest municipal rate in the whole county here in Rhinebeck. And we're able to do that because we keep growing and adding to our tax base, but we're growing in a smart way because we have an amazing comprehensive and zoning plan. So we're controlling it and controlling the way it looks, and we're grateful that the village has stepped up to update their comprehensive plan, because ultimately that's what will sort of keep Rhinebeck sort of rural and small as we're pressured to grow. Besides the $3 million in tax revenue, we get revenue in many other ways, and I always say, like, cemetery plots is our biggest, and that gets a lot of laughs. I don't know why. But we, make money from odd little things like selling cemetery plots and from sales tax and driveway permits and building permits. Building permits are through the roof. I think we had about 350 last year over our usual 230. So people are building. We collect trash fees, which is a big moneymaker for us. We get a lot of mortgage tax and sales tax for the county. So yeah, fiscally we're in great shape. We have money in the bank, your taxes are low, we're giving you services, and we don't have a lot of debt. And I think that aside from what we do as a town board, what really helps us to deliver is the staff. We have an amazing town hall staff. They are dedicated. There is no turnover. Really, people don't want to leave once they're hired because they're supported, they're listened to, and we try and pay them. You know, our starting salary now is, I think, $27 an hour, and you might say, oh my God, that's so high. Well, that's barely $56,000 a year. So how can someone with a family live in Rhinebeck on $57,000, $58,000 a year? It's hard. So we believe in delivering livable wages for people and health benefits. And a job with the town provides that, and it provides security and longevity and a pension when you retire. So we have an amazing staff. We have about 30 year-round full-time and part-time employees, and then when we start summer camp in the summer, we have about 4,000 high school employees, and that's exaggerated, but that's a lot. Yeah, that's a snapshot of that. Last year we did a lot of stuff. Clerks were really a little cranky. We passed so many local laws, I think, in the first quarter that there was a lot of overtime for filing our local laws. But just briefly, I've got my pages mixed up. I think workforce housing is a big thing that we're moving forward, and we're not done with it yet. I get really tickled when I hear comments from people who are upset that we're jamming it through because we started it in 2010, and that's a hell of a long jam. It's 15 years of jamming it through. We started in 2014 with a plan at the Gardens Phase 2, which didn't work out because many people didn't want to buy a condominium. But Nina Lynch is here. She's on the committee. She's been jamming it through for 15 years, too. But we, in 2019, we did pass a local law establishing the 2 districts. And it's the one district across from the library where Locust Hill is going to be built, and the other one is where Eveready is. And wouldn't that be great if Eveready got raised and we had some affordable housing there, but workforce housing. I hear a lot of people, it's not the perfect spot. Nothing's perfect, but it's good enough. It's great. It's fantastic. The hospital sold it to a developer. Land has rights to be developed. If it weren't developed as workforce housing, the density could be 5 times of what it is, because the existing density on that parcel is, I think, a unit for every quarter or fifth of an acre, 6,000 square feet, and we're going to have 80 units there. We've just decided to make the road that goes through it a town road because we found out that if it wasn't a town road, there would be problems picking up kids in the school bus. So we want families to live there. We want kids. So we'll make it a town road. The developer will do that, and kids will go to school on school buses. We're waiting for comments from the planning board. The town's lead agency, and we are the people in charge of the concept plan. So it's a slightly different stretch for us and the planning board. So we're all kind of like, wait, what are we doing? What's happening? But we value the planning board, want to hear their comments, and then we bake it into our local law for this project, lay that law down, then refer it to the planning board for their comments. So everybody was saying, what's taking so long? Nothing. It's just the process. It's just government moving at our light speed of jamming things through. Last year, we opened our skate park, which seems to have a lot of people excited. I don't know if you guys have been down to the park, but we did a lot of work at the park last year. And it is, to my mind, absolutely wonderful to go down there, and I go down 2 or 3 times a day, driving in and driving home, and sometimes for a meeting. It's jam-packed with all kinds of people. People playing tennis, people playing pickleball, people walking, hopefully with the dogs on the leash, but that's a whole other thing. Skate people at the skateboard park, and then tons of different groups playing playing, on our artificial turf field, which is climate resistant. If it's a drought, it's great, it's fine. If it's raining for 20 days, you can still play on it. But it's just really makes me happy to see that the park is a sort of center for the town. Kids are walking down there after school and hanging out, and it's a safe place and fun. So we'll continue with that next year, and I'll give you some more of that when I get to 2025. We also passed a noise ordinance last year, which who knew that would be like the most contentious thing that we did. Like sometimes you think you're just doing like a little, change and hundreds of people come out with pitchforks and they're very upset. But the short of it is that we had a noise law that wasn't enforceable because the decibels were all wonky and anyone could get arrested for using a hairdryer out on their porch. So once we looked at it, we thought, we should change this and give it some subjectivity so that if someone's being like really crazy, they could be reined in. But it's not our intention to stop people from blow drying hair on their front porch or running a leaf blower. But that was pretty much the most the most contentious local law that we passed in 2024, but we got it done. We also appointed a new town board member, Erin Coco Boone, which sadly didn't work out because she got ill. But we were running last year with a diminished board, and we decided not to appoint because we figured we'd just wait for an election. And Gina Peterson was elected in a write-in campaign, which is amazing. And she had her first meeting with us. She's another woman, which makes me thrilled. She's under 90. She's actually in her 40s. She's educated, she's warm, she's funny, she's got ideas, she's got 2 kids who go to school, she lives in Minecliff, and she's excited to be on the board. So I think she's going to bring a lot this year, and it does make a difference. We have a great board, we're collegial, we work well together, we work with the village. It just takes a lot of effort and time to get things done. We don't just vote on things, we're actually running projects. We also passed a law to allow short-term rentals in the town. Previously, they were illegal. Everyone was doing it. We had about 90 of them. Now we have a short-term rental law, which I think makes sense. If it's your primary residence and you're there, you can do whatever you want because you're the best enforcement officer of what goes on the property. But what we don't want are people buying up houses here and using them as unregulated hotels. That's just bad. Maybe good for businesses, I don't know, but it's bad for neighborhoods. It takes housing stock off the markets, and people live next door to 24-hour party people, and that's not why you buy a house. You buy a house to have a home. So we've got that online. We're writing permits and reviewing applications, and we'll see what happens. You're allowed to rent out an accessory dwelling if it's your primary residence and you're there, or you can rent out a bedroom or an apartment, but you have to be there and it has to be your primary residence. We finally turned over the Vandenberg Cove Sewer District to the Dutchess County Water and Wastewater, which again is another thing we jammed through. That took about 10 years because we had a grant on it, but for a town our size with basically a one-person maintenance department running a sewer district, it was crazy. So we're really, really grateful that the Dutchess County Water and Wastewater now officially has it and all the money, and they're running it, and they have engineers and many maintenance people on staff, so that's good. We redid all of the mapping of our critical environmental areas. I mean, if the village has fire departments and sewer districts and water and police departments, what we have is land use and river. Our job is to be a steward of all the rural lands surrounding the crawler, the donut hole. And it's really important to us with climate change and lots of people moving in. We remapped all the critical environmental areas that were in our 2009 comprehensive plan. So that was something that was did. We had our first birthday celebration. We appointed a special prosecutor to work with our zoning administrator, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but there's a lot of nonsense that goes out there. People breaking the law all the time, and without enforcement to really come come down and say, yeah, you can't, be running a restaurant here, or this is really a junkyard, not a farm. We need to prosecute and shut things down. We hired a full-time recreation director because of our commitment to expanding the park. We're offering more and more recreation programs and opportunities. Nancy Kelly retired as our town historian after 50 years. Nancy had like 30, 40 years of service with the town, including being on the town board. But her daughter, Suzanne Kelly Fitzgerald Patrick, is taking over, and so that's exciting for us. We got an EV car with a grant. We got $110,000 in grants for becoming a climate smart community. So we got a $10,000 grant towards an electric vehicle, which we use for our building and zoning departments. And we have a $100,000 grant to put heat pumps and air conditioners in, which we'll do in a lot of our outbuildings, down at the park and the pavilion and the highway garage and transfer station. We're really turning over into an electric town and doing everything we can to reduce our carbon emissions. We did a lot of highway work, more than usual. Highway's our biggest department. Bob Wyatt, who couldn't be here tonight, is another excellent partner, our highway superintendent. He's knowledgeable, he's funny, he's kind, he's detail-oriented. He and the guys redid the culvert on White Schoolhouse Road all in-house, and it's pretty impressive. That's a snapshot of 2024. There's a million other things we did, but that's just some of the high points. We are a leader environmentally. Gary and I are co-founders of the Hudson 7. Gary's sort of brainchild, but I'm paying the bills for it. I'm the treasurer. And we're really committed here in Rhinebeck to doing everything we can locally to reduce our carbon emissions and be on track with New York State's 2030 and 2050 goals. It's a small thing we can do. You saw what happened in October with the fires across the river. That's because we don't have rain. And what's going on in California could happen here. So we believe it's incumbent on us to do whatever we can to protect the environment. This year, we have a couple of big things. One of them really excites a lot of people. It's controversial, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to look at a community preservation fund. This is something that the Village Comprehensive Plan asked the town to do in consideration for the new comprehensive plan really being, the village is providing more density in the village. In exchange for that, they'd like the town to protect some key pieces of property. And people say, well, the comprehensive plan does that already because of cluster zoning. Yes, we do. However, maybe farms in the town, the very few that are left, should be guaranteed to be farmland forever. There may come a point, one year, not in our lifetime, maybe our kids, maybe our grandkids, where we have to grow the food locally that we eat. And farms, to my opinion, are worth preserving. And open pieces of land that are important to the town, both visually and strategically placed, are important. It's important to protect them and let them be wild forever. So that's a very complicated process that will be a referendum vote, so everyone will have a say. But we'll be looking at it and studying it and talking about it, and hope to have participation and points of view from everyone in the community. Dina ran on the platform of, gosh darn it, she wants to get that sidewalk in connecting Rhinecliff to the library, a safe walking and biking trail on Rhinecliff Road. And we started before COVID, and then everybody sort of, all the people at our engineering firm sort of quit and moved up to the hills and started subsistence farming. And now we're restarting it as we, reset after COVID. And Dean's going to spearhead that. Gary was talking about safe school route, safe route to school. I get the names mixed up. But, here's a partnership with the town. What people may not know is that the village can't own bridges. So that bridge in the village on South Parsonage is owned by the town. We need $3 million to replace it. It's been flagged by NISTOT, and we've been turned down 3 times for a grant. So thanks, New York State. We're going to come knocking on your door again with some, bigger guns to try and get the money. We need the money to replace the bridge so Gary can put the sidewalks down so kids can get to school. But that's, how we'll work together. We'll work together to try and get the money. We're also, what about 2,000 people in the town get their drinking water from the village water treatment plant, and the village gets the water from Hudson. We don't have any water districts. They just get the water and the village sends them the bills. If the infrastructure breaks down, there's no way for the village to either bond or get grants to fix it. So we're going to look at forming a water district or 2 or 3 separate ones so that the village can properly take care of the water users in the town, and that's something that we'll work on together. We're going to continue improvements in our town park. At least 1 or 2 people up here are happy to hear that we're going to have bocce courts. I know someone asked for it. Building bocce courts. There will not be a cafe attached. You cannot get a pastis with your bocce, but there will be bocce. We're renovating, basically rebuilding our kiddie pool. We will be doing mudwort mitigation. Who knew that was such a big thing? All the pollinator gardens that we planted got infested with mudwort. So that needs to be mitigated and suffocated and replanted, which we'll do. We're putting in paths to the skate park. We're putting in a bigger parking lot at the south side of the field, and that's all going to be done in-house with our highway department. Frank Mazzarella, local architect who designed a lot of the structures in the park, is working with us on visual cohesiveness within the park. We're building shade structures, seating areas, pollinator gardens, everything except a heritage perennial cutting garden, but I have my sights on that somewhere down the line. We'll get new fences for the ball field and the pools. And we have a ton of things. We have, we got a grant too from the Hudson Valley Regional Council to put biofilters on our capped landfill up on Stone Church Road. When we did our carbon marking project, we did a project that we also got funding for. All of the carbon, most of the carbon that we produce as a town government comes from our highway department trucks. That's number 2, but there's no electric substitute for that. But it comes from the gases coming out of our landfill. So by doing biofilters, we can reduce the carbon emissions in a really low-tech way, just by filtering the emissions through a series of rock and mulch, 30 to 80% over 3 to 5 years. So we're really excited about that. We're going to look at alternatives to lawns in our parks and at Town Hall, non-mowing alternatives. We're going to continue communication with Amtrak. This is a big one, Amtrak. Amtrak had a great plan for renovating the station, but NISDOT stepped in and it came to a grinding halt. But we are in touch with Amtrak, and we're hopeful that before, another decade, that project will start and be continued. But one thing we are doing is working on a comprehensive parking plan for Rhinecliff to ensure that it doesn't become a de facto parking lot for commuters. And we need enforcement, police, either from the village or the county to take care of that. But we're working on it, and we're open to working on anything else that anyone wants us to consider. I think of us as a board that works, like 30-40% of the work we do is just keeping the lights on. It's the things that have to get done every day. And then the other 60% are things that we do, things that people want us to do or have to be done. So we're always happy to hear, what people are looking for, what people want, what will add value to your quality of life here in Rhinebeck. And we're always happy to listen and work with you. And I think that's a good end for the state of Rhinebeck.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Our final speaker this evening Central School District Superintendent Albert Cousins. Mr. Cousins joined the Rhinebeck community in July of 2020 when he was appointed as the superintendent of schools for the Rhinebeck Central School District. A native of Western New York, he began his career in education as a middle school social studies teacher and later served as a K-12 director of social studies. Before arriving in Rhinebeck, he was a high school principal in a Long Island district. He is a dedicated educator and coach who has made a lifelong commitment to inspire positive and productive learning and expand opportunities for young people. Since arriving in Rhinebeck, his work has focused on strategic planning, enhancing opportunities for students, furthering the well-known quality educational programs in our schools. With collaboration from the faculty, staff, and school leaders, the district has worked diligently in recent years to further develop strong relationships with the community, local businesses, and families, and fully embrace a role as a centerpiece for the greater Rhinebeck area. And with that, Albert Cousins, come on up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I will be as brief as I can. I know it's a long night. I'm so grateful to be here to be a part of this event. I think it's been almost every year except for the one COVID year. As Carolyn mentioned, I'm just finishing my 5th year in the district, and time goes by really quickly. But I think the point struck me when Gary and Elizabeth were talking about just how similarly our lives work in terms of we all have the same goal. We all work with boards, and as Elizabeth said, so much of it is what we have to do and just keeping things running. But what is so unique about the school system is that I think oftentimes we are like that first canary in the coal mine when new families come in. Like we're really at the center of all that melting pot. So I do again thank Carolyn for the invitation to be here. We do value the partnership with our community, and we have worked so hard to make sure that our students do not take for granted that the place that they come from. We're very proud of where we are, and we want our students to be involved in the community. And we've made some tremendous strides in doing that, and I'll go through a couple of those later on. I also think it's important for you all to know that we want to be a great neighbor. We want to be as fiscally responsible as we can. But the fact of the matter is school has become more complicated in recent years. People have become more complicated. Families are more complicated. Kids are more complicated. The nature of how we do our jobs it's different. The access to information that students have, all the technology tools at their fingertips, the social and emotional needs of our students, has completely redefined the landscape of public education. And we do fully embrace that we are the centerpiece of the community. We recognize that. But as a public school, we are the most obvious site of the uniqueness and the diversity of the community, because everyone sort of has to exist and coexist in very close spaces in the school. And what's fascinating to me is how that experiment of integration, it has been so attentive to the needs of students. So oftentimes people will say, it's very expensive and all of that. And the truth of the matter is we've completely expanded how we meet the needs. Our special education department has increased, our counseling department has increased. We've done everything possible to make sure that we are as much of a wraparound service for the community as we can be. The enrollment is one of the biggest questions that we get a lot of. When I came to Rhinebeck during my interview process, it was a lot about what do you do, declining enrollment. That was a very popular thing. And for a period of 10 years, a very steady decline. In the last 5 years, I'm pleased to report we've been entirely stable. We remain in the mid-900s, so in that range between 940 to 950, but we stayed there very consistent for the past 5 years. It's the first time that we've sort of changed the trajectory of that line there. And what I'll also share with you is we have many tools. We do a lot of analytics, so we're able to forecast and look at those trends, which are surprisingly similar from year to year. We always know when we're going to pick up many students. And any given year, we're actually welcoming about 30 to 40 new students into the school. So there's a lot of transient, which is something that people are always surprised by. But on an almost daily basis, we're checking enrollment because it actually changes more frequently than anyone would imagine. Based on all the algorithms that we have at our tools, we anticipate continued stabilization. We actually welcomed in one of the largest kindergarten classes, this cohort of students. But it is tremendously unpredictable because 2 years prior, it was one of the smallest. That one, however, has grown by 18 students in the past 3 years since they arrived. So it is somewhat unpredictable, but I can assure you we are on it. We're able to look at that. What we never do know is we don't get data on when kids are born or where they're born. The data that we get is based on hospitals, which has nothing to do with who lives here. So it's very unreliable. But what I can tell you is this is because of all the work that you do, all the work with the municipalities, everybody, this is a highly desirable place to be. People want to be there. At CLS, Mr. King is doing tours all of the time with families who want to be here, both because of the community and because of the schools. I'm going to share with you a couple of things I'm very proud of. These are some of our new things. I'm hoping that you've heard or at least have seen some of these because we've also been working on communication. Number one is the addition of our pre-K program. So this is the first year that we've offered pre-K. There was a lot of interest in that when we did community sessions to get input from people looking at the needs of young families. So we were very happy. This is our first year that we had one classroom with 18 4-year-olds, and it is subsidized in part by state funding. And this pre-K program is offered at no cost to families. It is a lottery-based system because at any point that the state is involved, if the number of people interested in the program exceeds the number of seats that we have, there is a lottery. So we did have a lottery in our first year, and we are looking to continue the pre-K. Our program is at CLS, and it is actually run by a local, the Rhinebeck Community Nursery School. So Rebecca Stotts, she's the director of the nursery school. She runs the program at CLS. And it was important to us to go local. We did have agencies who were looking or were interested in operating the pre-K that are much broader and even national in some cases. But it was very important for us to work with a local provider, someone who knows Rhinebeck, who understands the unique needs of that. And that has been a theme of when we can go local, the school district will do that. And that even goes as far as even our food service program. It's been an incredible addition to have our pre-K students, and we are strongly advocating our state governments and anyone who can help us to adequately support. The amount of funding that the state provides for early learning is about half of what it costs to educate a child. So that gap is filled through our general fund. And we think this is something that is essential. There is no replacement for those early years, that fundamental time in a child's development. So it would be our dream to be able to offer this to all who want it, but until the state makes a change to the funding formula, it will be difficult. As it is, based on the combined wealth ratio of the area, we actually get the minimum state support that a school district can get. A second big shift, and I'm sure that if you operate in the village, you have realized this, the Rhinebeck High School has a new schedule. So we've gone from, instead of having 9 periods in a 6.5-hour day, we now have 6 classes meeting daily. Students still take 8 classes in their lunch, but the classes don't meet every day, and they meet for longer periods when they do meet. The schedule also provides for a community lunch, and this is where you may have seen, so there's an open campus. So for 54 minutes of the day, juniors and seniors are able to leave the campus and to engage in all that the beauty of the village and town offer to that. So what's so fascinating about this is all teachers and students are free simultaneously. It allows our clubs to meet at that time, so our student athletes who previously couldn't engage in that are now able to have access to that. Every child will know that their friend is also in the same lunch period. There's no more of that. It's led to reduced discipline, and it's also led to increased attendance, which was a major goal for the school, to make sure that kids are present, because you cannot replace not being there in terms of the success. We're really happy with the program. We are collecting feedback from students, faculty, and staff. The high school does know it's important to get feedback from the community, and we'll be putting a mechanism out to do that, because we know it's a tremendous shift. And we've worked really closely with the municipalities. We do have members of Rhinebeck PD who are part of the school community as our SROs, so they're often providing feedback around that. And we are very excited about the prospect of having a safe place for kids to walk on Parsonage, because oftentimes you'll see the high school kids walk like 6 people across, and it's very difficult for cars to navigate that. So we recognize that. So that is a big change that happened in the high school. And I have to tell you, I compliment the high school school administration and teachers for being courageous enough to make a change. It's already a very successful school. It's a great school. And it's always fascinating to take that leap of faith to do what's better for learning when you don't have to, because you're already great. So I compliment them for their courage to make that change. I absolutely am certain that it's good for kids and good for learning, and I'm certain that it will help them when they leave high school into anything else, because the thing that students will report of having the most trouble with in college is how to handle free time. It's like, what do you do when you don't have a class? So we've provided a more mentored, observed period of free time for them to learn how to navigate that. It's a very important piece, and I'm very proud of that change. We've also continued to support the performing arts. This was a major goal. When I arrived, it was a personal goal of mine. In my personal life, I work in the performing arts, so it's very important to me. We have such a tremendous artistic community in Rhinebeck, so we've done everything possible to support the fine performing arts. But most significantly, we now have our first ever middle school drama club. That's something that didn't exist. We actually had our first production last year. And it may seem like a little thing, but it's huge for those students who that's the motivation of why they come to school. The PTSO helped make it possible, so we did proof of concept. So this year the district now we've hired the advisor for the drama club. We also last year had our first K-12 choral event, which was just a way to celebrate the fact of using the voice. We had the entire chancellor came over with the middle school choirs, the high school choirs. It was a really cool event because we wanted the students to see what's possible if you continue to study music. And I'm proud to say this year, 50%, half of the middle school is in a music class, is learning music, is staying in band. That's a tremendous increase from where it's been. I'm really excited about that. COVID had a big impact on music education, and music learning is good for the brain. And I also wanted to give a little shout out to, I see Pat Sexton's here. So Pat is part of also the middle school improv club, which was the very first seedling of leading to the dramatic arts. And by the way, the middle school is very dramatic already. Scripted, unscripted dramatic arts. And the teacher, Emily Hop, it's just amazing. And those kids, it's really transformed, making it seem, I often hear, it's all about the athletics. We have an amazing athletics program, and I'm just so proud of the transformation we've made in the performing arts with a focus. There's been such a tremendous emphasis on literacy and on early learning, both for our youngest children, so the kindergarten, first, second grade, and also for the upper elementary, because those are students who, at the fundamental point of literacy learning, were in the pandemic. So school was interrupted. So we're still feeling, that what that gap was like. And I want to credit Katie Anderson. She's here tonight. She's the assistant superintendent. My colleague, she's here. She's an expert in early learning. She was an elementary principal. She's one of my closest advisors, and she led a complete renovation. Every single classroom at Chancellor has a new classroom library. That means their entire set of books for interest of kids has been upgraded, the entire school. That's a huge feat that normally takes 6 years to accomplish. It was very important for us to have a focus on that, and I just want to compliment publicly for that. We've been working a lot on communication. We've been striving to figure out the ways to reach people who don't have children in the school. So we've done two things this year that I'm exceptionally proud of. We have hired our public information officer. This is a person who we contract out, works 1.5 days in the district. So if you have not done it, if you just go to Facebook and look at what Rhinebeck Central School Districts have been doing, we're now getting multiple posts a week, 4 or 5. You'll see so many amazing things. So we have someone to help promote that, as well as our website is now fresh and updated every day or two. There's a new story for you to see. We also, and hopefully some of you received it, for everyone who lives in the district, we started a printed newsletter this year just to go out so that you don't only hear from us when it's budget time. It's very important that you get insight on the back to see the high school production with Clue. You really get a sense of the flavor on that. We did also print, and I brought copies if anyone wants it, the district calendar. We have a printed version of that. It had been moved to digital, but we found that people really miss having this. We really want everyone to come to see the concerts, the plays. They're all on that calendar. So if you're interested in what's going on at the school, we do have them at some of the local businesses, but I did bring some with me tonight. But I can encourage you, in the past, if you had looked at the website, you'd be like, what is going on here? It's nothing. We were ramming it through, as Elizabeth said, nothing changing. But now we do have a very fresh take, and it's very updated. And we're also able to promote through a flyer service. We have anything that the community would like us to promote, we are able to do that. We are also actively working on a new platform that will allow non-district families to opt in to the distribution list as well, so you can receive as many emails as you'd like. As far as school safety, I just wanted to also inform everyone that we have hired, also it's a 1 day a week, we have a safety consultant that we're working with BOCES to do a complete audit of school safety. Obviously that's our number one, always at front of mind there. We do work very closely with the village. We are one of the only school districts that have a local PD who operates as our SRO. So these are people who have a vested interest. It's a very special relationship. You know, Gary and I and Sergeant meet regularly to discuss that, but it's such a valued, prized element to what we do in the schools. In addition to that, we are creating a program that's actually starting in the phys ed classes for pedestrian and bike safety. That was of a lot of concern. So we're actually, even at pre-K, they're learning with their tricycles, but we're focusing a lot on pedestrian and bike safety. This is all part of just that collaboration that we have through the town and the village, just understanding that we're all in this together to create an environment that is great for families and for kids. Not as exciting, or is we're a lot of focus and a lot of resources for data protection. That's big for anybody who's using computer technology. Cybersecurity, data protection, it's a huge part of our work going forward. It's often a hard thing to sort of sell on why isn't this the school. It's actually a tremendously important thing because we have so much data on kids and families. You think about when you register, you just want your kid to go to school, but you're turning over a lot of data that you're expecting to be protected. We have all the student records and all of that. So this is huge, and we are not immune to the threats that are out there in cyberspace. And every single student is given a device. So although they don't take them home K-5, every single student in the district has a device. So we have 6 to 12, they're all taking a device home. So this is a very important part of our overall school safety. Tying into that is our focus on wellness. As I mentioned, we put a tremendous amount of resources during COVID and after into supporting our counseling staff. We are so well prepared to support families and kids in crisis. The school really is a resource. Oftentimes there's stigma of even letting the school know, but we do offer family supports. We have a school social worker in all 3 buildings. That is a tremendous asset, as well as the school counselors, even at Chancellor. So that has been a very important component of the school. I'm going to skip that. Looking ahead on the horizon, one of the biggest things that we're confronting from a learning perspective is AI, is just understanding it as a tool, not as a thing that kids are going to use, quote, to cheat. And that's also something, like when the calculator came in, it ruined the abacus and all of that. So we're really looking at how kids can do more given the tools that do exist. It's a significant philosophical shift that we're all sort of facing, but it's something that we're really excited about. We actually have our administrators learning now a lot about AI so that we can help the kids successfully navigate that, and also help them navigate just media and knowing how to discern what is maybe a little bit fishy and what is not. I also want to use this opportunity tonight to say we do expect to be we want to be a community asset. We have amazing facilities. We're a great place to host events. We have a beautiful auditorium space. I know that I can just say Rhinebeck at Home use the facility for their Thriving Rhinebeck event, and it's just such a great partnership. The school cared about that event. We sponsored that event, so we as a co-sponsor provided the space. We're always looking to be we want to be a space that people use, and it's a beautiful facility that we're constantly upgrading, so we do welcome use of the facilities. Our rates are really good. They're really, really inexpensive on that. Let's see here. We are one of the largest employers in the area, and that is one of the things that we are so sensitive to. The people who work in the schools, they are the people who shop here, it's a part of their whole life. They don't just come to the school and go home. Rhinebeck is really like a broader, bigger community for our faculty. Let's see here. I wanted to just also let everyone know that similar to the planning that Gary had referenced, we're always looking to be very smart with the decisions that we're making, we're anticipating. So we look at the profile of our staff. We have a sense of where people are in their careers. It's an expensive thing to do to run a great school district because we want highly skilled and seasoned educators. So we're always thinking ahead to make sure that we're very stable. And I've been so proud of the budgets that we presented, remaining under that cap. We've been so fortunate with the tax base growth that there's so much growth that it does help everybody as a whole. And lastly, I would just want to say that we do have a really great, awesome board. Tonight we have some board trustees. We have the president, Steve Jenkins, is here. And we have trustees, Roseanne Serpico, and also Mark Fletcher. If you're interested in spending time with them, we will have several vacancies on the school board, and that is something that we're really looking to make sure that we fill that with. People are interested in the greater, all of the benefits that the school provides. We love the school. Everyone who works there, like I think one of the previous speakers had mentioned, nobody leaves. They come there. They love working there. We have tremendous retention. There's a tremendous amount of pride, and the future is so bright for the school. So if you're interested in board service, any one of those three can kind of sell you on that, and we can talk you through the process. Again, I thank you for the invite, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now I'd like to open up the Q&A session and take your questions and for anyone of the speakers. Anybody?
Liz, I'd like to ask you a question. Why can't a village own a bridge?
New York State says they can't.
Oh, so it's a state law.
Is there any plans for County Road 85 to reopen?
I'll answer that unless Albert wants to take it.
What was the question?
County Road 85, which is South Mill Road, it sort of it connects Vander Cove to Rhine where Linwood is. It totally washed out in, I think June or July. And the county DPW is doing test borings right now because they're uncertain as to the geological safety of the area. They're doing test borings. They have an engineering firm. Once they get the data back, they're going to look at it. It is my understanding, and I agree with this, if it's a cost-effective fix, if it's $1 million or $2 million, that they will do it. But if it's a $3, $4, $5, $6 million fix, I believe, and I would support them closing, dead-ending the road. So we don't know. It's a county decision. The county legislator has to approve it. It's unknown why it happened. But the tragedy of it is that there's one woman who lives there who lost all of her water. So I'm working with the Dutchess County Water and Wastewater to get that restored for her through private donations. It's a geological issue, and we'll see what they come up with if they're working on it.
Anybody else?
I have a quick question for the superintendent. You said that the state pays for 50% of the pre-K students. What does the state pay for K through 12?
That's more.
So the question was about what the state, how the state provides for pre-K versus all. So there's not a formula. It's not they don't do a per student reimbursement for anybody. That's just unique to pre-K as a separate program. The UPK program is actually operated out of a different office, even from this K-12 state. There's the Office of Family and Child Services, and there's also early learning. It's two separate things. And it's more of it's a reimbursement rate only particular to pre-K. It's almost how they reimburse for, say, transportation or buses. They see the pre-K children as an extra expense.
pre-K, you said 18 slots. What's the total? What's the population?
So there are more students who engage in pre-K programs that the parents just choose to. So we had, I think, 27 or 28 who were interested in ours, who expressed interest. So of those 28, we did the lottery. The total is probably around, I'd say closer to 50, but of the interest who wanted it, last year when we did it, we had about 28, and then this year's interest application has been open, and it's right around there, it's in the mid-20s as well. Some just make decisions based on other reasons of that.
I have questions for all of you. I've copied this from, where's Andy? I've copied it. Yeah, I mean, Andy does this every year when he does it at the fair, and I think it's just a great idea. So there are prizes, whoever gets it right. So my first question, I talk a lot about the comprehensive plan. Who can name 2 of the 7 goals that were named in the comprehensive plan? No.
Water and sewer.
Safe routes, one.
The bar.
Filling in between buildings, whatever that's called, infill.
Yeah.
Compost.
Right. That's perfect. I need, one person could name 2.
Housing.
Oh, providing safe and walkable streets, yes. No, not you. If you want it, I'll tell you what, rather than drag it on, that can meld into our climate smart practices because our water treatment plant is really saving the planet. Thank you. So I'm going to get, all right, so the gifts are, it's a $10 gift certificate to Samuels. All right, is that an issue anymore? Question number 2. Albert brought up the population in the school, right, and how it's been status quo. So question, did the population in the village increase or decrease in the 2020 census?
Yes.
Did it increase or decrease in the 2020 census? Dave, I heard Dave here behind me. Yes, that's correct. The village full-time population declined by 9% from 2000 to 2020, from 2,957 to 2,697.
2020 census is totally underlined.
Well, yeah, I understand, but because of COVID, but hey, I just asked a question. Question number 3. Who was the first mayor for the village of Rhinebeck? Wasn't me. No. No.
It is a street, though.
Just the first letter.
All right. Was it Platt? Yeah, Elphat Platt in 1834. All right, last question. What was the original name of the Beacon Arms? Who said that? Trap Hagen.
Oh, before that.
Trap Hagen was before that. According to the records, in 1704, it was named the Trap Hagen Inn. Or you got it anyway. Thank you, Carolyn.
Just want to thank all of the speakers tonight. They did a great job. So much information. Let's give them a round. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the Chamber supporting and sustaining sponsors. You see some boards around the room. These are members that support us greatly all year long, and they make incredible things happen. So, Dave's Tree Service, A family-owned business since 1936. Dave's Tree Service will never leave you out on a limb. Winerex.com, crafting timeless spaces for your cherished bottles. Williams Lumber, a family-owned business since 1946. Nail it right the first time. Williams Lumber. Birch Hill Wealth Advisors, advice based on your goals and no one else's, with offices located in the heart of the village. Rugi's Automotive, a family-owned business since the mid-1930s, a company with a small-town feel with big brand appeal. Foster's Coach House, a Rhinebeck dining tradition since 1890. We all love it there, right? Special thank you to our corporate sponsor, Rhinebeck Bank, with the flagship branch located in the village of Rhinebeck since 1860. The organization remains committed to providing excellent service with branches located throughout the Hudson Valley. And that's the program. And please watch your inbox for chamber news and upcoming event information. And thank you all for joining us.